The lock clicked like a death sentence. Steam billowed as Reina's eyes snapped wide, her towel clutched tight.
Turn around. Now.
I can't turn around. I can't run. I am trapped with the coldest person in the company.
Yusei spun on his heel. Back turned, hands raised, on opposite ends of the steaming bath. They were both frozen, but for very different reasons. Violet eyes burned with fury. Brown eyes darted with panic. The locked door behind them might as well have been a cage. The sliding door had shut with a heavy thud. The night latch, an automatic lock from the outside, was engaged. The digital clock read 2:03 a.m. Yusei remembered the fine print, mixed bath accessible until midnight. Night lock releases at 6 a.m.
Don't move. Don't speak. Don't even breathe in my direction.
4 hours. Just 4 hours of not looking, not speaking. Just stay alive.
The silence that followed was heavier than any lecture she'd ever given. Only the soft drip of condensation dared disturb it.
I can't just stand here. There has to be a way out.
If you turn around, I will make sure you regret it.
I am just trying to check the door, without turning around.
He shuffled sideways, one hand out, until his palm met cold wood. The door wouldn't budge.
It's completely jammed. The lock is on the outside.
A brilliant deduction. Now stay where you are.
The clock face glowed 2:14 a.m. Then Yusei remembered the fine print. Night lock releases at 6 a.m. sharp.
The lock won't release until 6 in the morning. We're stuck here for 4 hours.
Then stop talking and wait.
Yusei sank back to his corner. Across the steam, Reina's silhouette remained rigid as stone. The minutes crawled forward, thick and silent.
She's like this in every meeting. Frozen fury. But why here? In the middle of the night?
The clock struck 2:37 a.m. Over 20 minutes of silence, yet the air grew heavier.
Then, through the steam, a tremor. Barely a quiver in her left hand.
Reina's fingers, usually so steady, were shaking. She pressed her palm against her thigh to hide it.
That's not anger. I've seen her angry 100 times. This is something else.
She clenched her fist tight, knuckles whitening, and for a moment, her mask slipped.
Why is she trembling? Could the great Reina actually be afraid?
The question hung unasked. Yusei swallowed his words, knowing any sound might shatter the fragile silence. For the first time since the lock clicked, Yusei felt something other than fear. Concern, the silence resumed, but now it was charged with a question neither dared voice. The minutes stacked like invisible bricks. Then at 2:52, Reina's shoulders dropped a fraction. She exhaled, and the sound cut the silence like a knife.
This heat is unbearable.
It's the onsen. They keep it warm. Part of the retreat relaxation package.
If I wanted to relax, I'd stay home. These company trips are a waste of time.
She actually replied. But her voice, it's thinner than usual, less sharp.
Yusei risked a glance at the back of her head. The haughty set of her jaw was still there, but it seemed to tremble.
You don't seem to enjoy company trips much, Reina-san.
Enjoy? They're just more work disguised as leisure. Now stop talking.
The command lacked its earlier venom. Yusei heard the weariness underneath. Like a door left slightly ajar. For the first time, the silence between them felt less like a prison and more like a shared room.
But her voice wasn't just tired. There were bruises under her eyes he hadn't noticed before. Reina-san, forgive me for saying this, but you look beyond exhausted.
I am fine. I just don't sleep well in unfamiliar places.
But we've been here 2 days. The inn should be familiar by now.
Reina didn't answer immediately. When she did, her voice was barely audible. It's been a long week.
A long week. She made it sound like a life sentence.
Then his eyes caught it. A small white bottle on the wooden edge, half hidden behind her towel. Her fingers twitched toward it, then recoiled as if burned.
She's not just tired, she's suffering. But from what? And why won't she say?
The silence returned, but now it carried the weight of unspoken pain.
But I never saw her crack before. Not in 2 years. Why now, in this steam-filled prison? Reina-san, I always thought you were invincible. Like nothing could touch you.
A humorless laugh. Dry, cracked, nothing like the cold woman from the office. Invincible. That's what everyone thinks. And it's a lie I've spun for 10 years.
The words landed like stones. Yusei felt his image of her, the unshakable department head, cracked right down the middle.
A lie? But your work is impeccable. You never make a mistake.
Because I can't afford to. One slip, and everything falls apart. The price is too high.
What price? She's not talking about a bad performance review. She's talking like her life depends on it.
The steam between them seemed to thicken, carrying the echo of a confession not yet fully spoken. Yusei didn't press, he just waited. The silence now a fragile bridge over something deep and broken.
If I share something about myself, maybe she'll open up. I'll mention how I got the job. When I was hired, they told me I had big shoes to fill. The person before me must have been incredible.
The words hit Reina like a blade. Her body stiffened, and the shadows in her violet eyes deepened.
She was.
She used she. This isn't just a colleague, it's someone she cherished. Did you know her well?
Everyone did. She was a light in that office, until she wasn't.
Reina's voice cut off abruptly, as if she'd already said too much. The silence that followed was suffocating.
I've touched a nerve, a deep, painful one. No wonder she guards herself so fiercely.
The distance between them held more than steam now. It held a name unsaid, a grief unshared, and the growing weight of a secret.
If I share my own fears, maybe she won't feel so alone in this. I feel that same pressure, you know? Trying to live up to someone I never even met.
In the corner of his eye, he saw her knuckles whiten. But Reina said nothing.
Sometimes I lie awake wondering if I am good enough, if I can survive this company like she couldn't.
Reina's expression twitched. For a heartbeat, her composed mask threatened to crumble entirely.
She's holding it in, but I can see the cracks. I need to keep going. Sometimes I worry I'll burn out before I make a difference. Just like, well, like the person before me.
Reina's fingers dug into her own arm, the sting keeping her anchored.
I am not telling her anything new. She knows this fear. She lives it daily.
In that moment, they were not boss and subordinate. They were two people haunted by the same ghost.
This company, it takes everything from you, and it never gives back.
She's finally saying it out loud. The thing everyone whispers about over drinks. What do you mean, Reina-san?
Some people pay the ultimate price, and no one talks about it.
Her voice broke on the last word. She turned her face away, but the tremor in her shoulders was unmistakable.
Ultimate price. She's not talking about a missed promotion. This is something permanent. Reina-san, who paid that price?
She didn't answer, but a tear escaped, trailing down her flushed cheek and falling into the water. The air grew thin. Reina's breath hitched, her hand clutching the towel as if it were the only thing keeping her upright. Yusei waited. The steam between them grew heavy, saturated with a grief that was finally demanding to be heard. Reina's breath shattered. Each inhale was a knife. She clawed at her chest, eyes wide, drowning in steam and terror.
Reina-san, look at me. Listen to my voice. Breathe with me, slowly, in and out.
He began to count, steady as a metronome. 1, 2, 3. The steam seemed to part for his words. Minutes or seconds passed. The death grip on her chest loosened. Her gasps slowed to trembling breaths.
I have panic disorder. I've hidden it for 10 years. No one at work knows.
The confession hung between them, fragile and raw. Yusei felt its weight like a stone in his throat.
10 years alone. No wonder she built walls of ice. And I believed them, like everyone else. Thank you for telling me, Reina-san. I won't tell a soul. You can trust me.
And just like that, the untouchable department head became human, exhausted, raw, but alive. The clock read 3:31 a.m., still trapped, but the silence was no longer hostile. It was a quiet truce, fragile but real, and neither dared break it. The silence stretched, soft as a held breath. When Reina spoke, her voice was stripped of armor, raw and unguarded.
I've thought about quitting. Every single day for the past year, the Ice Queen Act was the only way I knew how to survive.
every day. She called it survival. I called it coldness. All this time, I was wrong. Why haven't you quit then?
Because I was terrified of what people would think. And because I didn't know who I'd be without this job.
The confession stumbled, then stopped. She looked away as if the words had betrayed her.
And?
Reina shook her head, the tear sliding free, but Yusei wouldn't let the silence swallow her again.
What are you really afraid of, Reina-san?
The question hit a wound 10 years deep, and finally she let it open.
My older sister. She worked in the same company. She died of heart failure at 31. Overwork.
A flash of memory, a desk cluttered with reports, a smiling woman with familiar violet eyes. Reina's sister, frozen in time.
I found her at her desk. She'd been there all night. The company covered it up, called it a sudden illness.
Tears dripped into the bathwater, tiny ripples spreading like the shockwave of her confession.
Ever since, I've been terrified I'll die the same way. Alone at a desk, exhausted, while the world calls it fate.
The words hung in the steam, raw and absolute. Yusei felt his throat tighten. He had no words, no solutions, only presence.
This is what she's been carrying, alone, for 10 years. And I never noticed. No one did.
Reina's shoulders shook with silent sobs, years of armor dissolving into the water, and Yusei simply stayed. He didn't reach out, didn't offer empty comfort. He just stayed. In the heavy silence, the clock ticked toward an unspoken understanding. The secret was out, and it bound them tighter than any lock ever could.
3 years ago, I was hired to fill a sudden vacancy. They never told me whose spot I was taking.
Reina's violet eyes slowly widened. The tremor in her breath was the only sound between them.
I took over the operations lead position, the one that had been empty for months. I never knew why.
That was my sister's position, the one they never filled, until you.
And then she shattered, not in anger, but in a grief so deep it seemed to shake the water itself.
I wish I could have met her. She must have been remarkable if you loved her so much.
They sat across from each other, tears and steam mingling. Two strangers bound by a name finally spoken.
This isn't a coincidence. It's like her sister's shadow brought us here. To this bath, to this night.
I don't blame you. You gave her work meaning. You are not her replacement. You are her memorial.
And in that moment, the locked door wasn't a cage anymore. It was a sanctuary where two lost souls finally found a name for their pain.
Why are you so kind to me, after everything I put you through?
Everyone deserves to be heard, especially someone who's been quiet for so long.
The words settled over her like a warm cloth. For the first time in years, Reina breathed without effort.
Then, I am done being quiet. I think I need to stop pretending.
Yusei didn't cheer or offer advice. He simply nodded, his silence promising he'd be there however she needed.
I don't know what happens next, but for the first time, I am not terrified of finding out.
The steam parted slightly, revealing the first hint of gray dawn through the high window.
She's actually going to do it. After 10 years of silence, she's going to speak.
The hours of darkness had passed. The lock that trapped them had become the lock that freed her, and in the quiet before the morning bell, they sat, side by side in the softly lit bath. Two people who'd started the night as strangers and ended it as the only ones who knew the truth. A distant clatter broke the spell, the first staff moving beyond the walls. The world was waking up, and their sanctuary would soon vanish.
We can't tell anyone about tonight. No one would understand. Not the company, not our colleagues.
I know. This stays between us forever.
But I won't forget it, you say. What you did tonight. I'll carry it with me.
Footsteps approached. A key rattled in the lock. The door swung open with a soft groan, releasing a cloud of steam into the corridor. Yusei slipped out first, his silhouette swallowed by the steam, a silent vow hanging in the air. Reina paused at the threshold, her damp hair clinging to her back. She looked over her shoulder at the now empty bath, then stepped into the corridor. Two white towels, still damp, hung side by side on the wooden rack. the only evidence of a night that never officially happened. Outside, the inn corridors were silent. They went their separate ways, carrying the weight of a secret that would bind them long after the steam had faded. When they passed in the hallway an hour later, impeccably dressed for breakfast, their eyes met for a single second. And then they looked away, the corners of their lips betraying the faintest ghost of a smile. 1 week after the retreat, the office hummed with Monday morning routine. But Reina's stride was different, lighter, as if a weight had shifted. She placed a single document on the department head's desk, a leave request. 6 months, sabbatical.
I'll be taking a leave of absence. 6 months. For personal health reasons.
A murmur rippled through the open plan office. Colleagues exchanged wide-eyed glances, the Ice Queen voluntarily stepping away.
She's actually doing it. She's choosing herself over the company's expectations.
As Reina turned to leave the meeting room, her gaze briefly met Yusei's across the room, a silent, almost imperceptible nod.
That nod was for me, she remembered. And she's keeping her promise.
The department head signed the form without hesitation. Reina's sabbatical was approved that same afternoon.
She's gone for 6 months. I'll miss her. But more than that, I am proud of her.
Yusei returned to his desk, a quiet smile playing on his lips. The office felt emptier already, but somehow fuller with possibility. 3 months into her sabbatical, a familiar flash of red hair caught Yusei's eye in a downtown cafe.
Yusei? I didn't expect to see you here.
Reina-san, you look good. Really good.
Come, sit. I've been meaning to reach out, but I didn't know if it was appropriate.
I am just glad to see you. How have you been?
Better than I've been in a decade. I've been seeing a therapist.
She's really done it. She's healing, and seeing her smile feels like the real payoff.
They talked about books, the weather, the odd freedom of a Tuesday morning with nowhere to be.
I haven't forgotten what you did. I don't think I ever will.
They were just two people now, bound by something lighter, an unspoken hope for what might come next. 6 months later, the office doors opened for Reina, again, not as department head, but as co-lead, with a smile that reached her eyes.
Thank you all. I've missed this place, and I am ready to work with you again, differently.
Yusei's promotion had come through that morning. He'd be reporting directly to her. They shook hands, the gesture formal, their eyes anything but. Their desks sat adjacent, a comfortable silence between them punctuated by shared glances and the quiet hum of screens.
Yusei, could you review the quarterly projections? I trust your analysis more than anyone's.
She used to micromanage everything. Now she delegates. This is the real Reina, the one she always hid.
She'd glance over and he'd already be looking. A silent conversation only they understood.
Welcome back, Reina-san. It's good to have you here.
It's good to be back, and it's good to work with you.
The office buzzed with the new normal, a co-lead who laughed in meetings, a junior who'd earned her trust. The Ice Queen had melted, leaving something far stronger. 3 months after her return, a quiet restructuring moved Reina to a new division. She was no longer his supervisor.
She's not my boss anymore. That changes everything.
A week later, in the office corridor, Yusei asked her out. The words felt lighter than any report he'd ever submitted.
I was wondering how long it would take you.
Their first date was a walk through the park, cherry blossoms drifting around them like a blessing they didn't know they needed.
Remember how we used to avoid each other in the hallways?
I was just scared of you. Turns out I was.
He took her hand. They walked the rest of the path in comfortable silence, the spring air carrying unspoken words.
We're actually doing this, after everything.
The onsen night was never mentioned. It was the quiet, unwavering foundation they built everything on. A secret that became their strength. On a sun-drenched afternoon, beneath an arch of white flowers, Reina began her vows. Her voice trembled, but her gaze on Yusei never wavered.
Yusei, there is a night I have never spoken of. A night when I was broken in ways you cannot imagine.
She's going to say it. Here, in front of everyone.
And in that darkness, you didn't look away. You didn't try to fix me. You just stayed.
The guests sat in confused silence, but a few dabbed their eyes, sensing the weight of words they couldn't fully understand.
That night, locked in a bath of steam and fear, you showed me that I was worth more than my panic, more than my grief, more than the ghost I'd been chasing.
I can't hold it in. After all these years, she's honoring it.
And that is why I love you, you say. Not because you were perfect, but because you refused to let me be invisible.
They kissed, rice petals cascading like the tears they'd shed. The secret was finally spoken, and it sounded like a vow. No one understood the full story, but everyone felt its truth. The onsen night, once a silent bond, had become a declaration of love for all to hear. The reception hall glowed with soft amber light. On the dance floor, Yusei pulled Reina close for their first dance as husband and wife.
I am glad you stopped being my boss.
Reina laughed, a genuine, unrestrained sound that filled the space and washed away the years of silence.
And I am glad you finally stopped being terrified of me.
She rested her head against his shoulder, and the world outside the dance floor faded away. His hand rested on her back, the wedding ring catching the amber light.
This is the exact opposite of that onsen, and yet it feels the same. Safe. Just us.
He's still the same person who listened in the steam. And now he's mine.
No more walls, no more pretending, just the quiet rhythm of a love that had been born in silence and declared in vows. And as the song ended, they stayed, holding on a moment longer than necessary, because now they had all the time in the world. Later, at the same onsen inn, a soft rain began to fall. The mixed bath stood quiet, the door left open. Steam rose peacefully, carrying the memory of a night that had changed everything. The lock that once trapped them had never been repaired. It wasn't needed anymore. They had returned here once together to leave flowers for her sister, and in their home, a single photo sat on the shelf. Their wedding day, the onsen inn barely visible behind them. They never spoke of that night again. Not in words, but in the quiet moments, a shared glance, a held hand they remembered. For the silence between them was never empty. It was filled with all the things they no longer needed to say, and they never spoke of that night again, except in the silence where words weren't needed.